All right. Just make sure everyone can hear me okay. Yeah, Tate, still good.
Yep, you're good.
Cool. I shouldn't have, I don't think anything's changed. Um,
Nope.
real quick, just not overbearing.
F natural.
Very good, but hopefully not distorted and stuff like that.
Yeah, you're good. You're good.
Okay, cool. So I got a new so this area I've switched it around to make it more conducive to doing things like this because this is the way the world is right now. Um, the way I had it was backwards the other way. So whenever I played for people on camera, you could only see my bell. So I had to switch this whole room around, and yeah, there we go. All
Hey,
right.
Cool.
quick question for you.
Yep.
You know if I start this meeting in the meeting and then can I restart it with the same link? Or once I end it, does it end?
Is it a reoccurring? Did you set it when you set the settings? Did you set for reoccurring?
No.
Hmm.
But I just set it for a time frame from 3 o'clock today.
I have no idea.
All right.
Sorry, Tate probably knows.
All right. Go ahead.
You might need to make a fresh new meeting and have that one set for like 3:15 or 3:30. Well, going to 3:15, 3:30, not like.
Okay. Yeah. 'Cause we're running into issues with people that got kicked out. They can't join the meeting. Okay.
All right, am I good to go?
Yeah.
All right, cool. Um, all right, so hello everyone. My name's Ryan Heinlein. I teach at Johnson County Community College. I run the jazz bands and concert band and jazz improv, and then I'm the chair of the music department there now, music and theater and recording arts. And we host Future Jazz whenever we get to have in-person Future Jazz. So I'm happy to be here. I hope you are all well and managing all this craziness. So today, for like the next 45 minutes or so, I'm just going to talk about just a simple way to approach improv if improvisation is something that you struggle with, even if it's not something, even if it's something you excel with, it's still something to focus on is um, the the time and your internal sense of rhythm whenever you solo, whenever you're improvising. Um, so I started kind of thinking about this. I started thinking about this approach a long time ago. I was taking lessons from a guy, and he would always tell me, he's like, you can learn every like incredible lick in the world, um, or have a gorgeous sound, but if you don't play it in time, it's going to sound wrong. Um, so there's no, you can, with time and with theoretical understanding and listening and things like that, you can create the context for any note. There's no such thing as a bad note, but there's no context for having bad time. Um, and so that's something I've always tried to really focus on. One, playing with good time, but also having the ability to kind of move my pocket around within a beat to fit what is going on. If I'm playing something a little bit more, if I'm playing, just like medium swing tunes, that's different than playing with like a rock band. Like you've got to have a different sense of pocket for that. So really trying to adapt, and it ultimately becomes just making sure you're a very good listener if you're playing within a section. But in terms of improvisation, what I found when I was really kind of studying how to do this, and how to kind of come up with something tangible for people to learn, um, is that by focusing on the time, if you limit, like when you're starting out, if you limit the notes, and I know Marcus just got done talking to you all about a bunch of different scales, and I heard melodic minor modes and everything like that. And so what I found though is if you take that information and limit it, so you're not thinking the entire scale right away. Find a couple notes that you like within a scale and focus on those, and just be okay, especially in practice, with just playing one or two notes at a time, but focusing on the rhythm of it. You're going to make a more interesting solo anyway in the long run. So what I going around and doing festival, like adjudicating festivals and teaching constantly and going around and just working with middle school and high school and college bands. It doesn't matter what level the band is at. Like I see this problem a lot through all the different levels of just, you've got the overzealous high school kids that are very comfortable with soloing, and they just, they got the saxophone player that can just shred, and maybe they don't, they're compressing eighth notes, 16th notes, things like that. And so the time isn't there. And then you also have like the timid, you've got sort of the timid kids. It's usually like where I would like third trombone. So like the third trombone, or like the fourth kid that's playing second bari sax, because there's bands with like 30 saxophones in a big band, which is cool. That it's fine because we want kids to be in jazz bands. So but you get like those timid kids that, like, if you were transcribing their solos, they like, if you wrote out the rhythm of their solo, it'd be like a dotted quarter note, and then like a whole note tied across the bar, tied to a double dotted eighth, all this like like just bad time. So what I did, if you guys all have it, I put it in the chat. I just ended up coming up with 152 simple one measure rhythms. Nothing more complex than eighth notes. So there's no triplets, no 16th notes, nothing like that. And this isn't all of the rhythms that you could have, but I just came up with I started working with those. And so I could take these to schools and go, okay, let's just use this rhythm and let's all play just over a blues. So I heard Marcus talk to you guys about just playing a basic blues too. So the chord progression of a basic blues. Let me make sure. Can I get, hey, Tate, is it possible for me to share a screen?
Should be. It looks like a green square that says share content.
Yeah, it says host disabled attendee screen sharing. I don't need it for a minute, but just, something I might want to do. So anyway, so I would take this rhythm worksheet that I sent, that all you guys got in the chat. If somebody doesn't see it, let me know. Just says rhythmworksheet.pdf. All that, oh, look at that, there it is. So it's got a bunch of articulations in there on how I articulate things and how I get my bands to all articulate. But really it's there's 152. You can play them all in a row like an etude, or like what I do with bands is I just isolate them. And so I organize them by like where they start on the beat. So like the first page and a half, 2 pages is just different, simple, easy rhythms that you can play, swing, that you can swing just starting on beat 1. And then we go to beat 2 and then the and of 1 and things like that. So they're all organized by where they come in from the downbeat. So what I found is, all right, can you take that off now, Tate? So
yep.
Yeah, thanks, man. I got to get my notes. I've done this so many times. I should have all this down anyway. So what I found, especially for like beginning musicians and stuff, something that helps, and you can apply this to any tune that you guys play. It doesn't have to be just a basic blues. I use a basic blues just because that's usually what I hear people warm up on. Like when I'm adjudicating festivals, like high school bands are either playing through a basic blues, like a 3-chord blues, or they're all like playing a unison blues scale or something. So it's something that you guys all know, hopefully. If not, you can do this to it. And like I said, you apply this to any tune that you've got a solo on. It doesn't matter what it is. Just start by playing the roots. And I kind of come up with this approach. So this is all in a book that I wrote as well. It turned into a book. This was what I was doing to try and help people, and then that became my dissertation to get my doctorate, and then that turned into a book. Like I took all like the dorky like academic stuff out of it and made it tangible for people. So um, all I have people do is I just say, okay, pick one of first thing I do is I go, what is a root? And hope I know Marcus already explained what a root is, but maybe it's different. All you got to tell people is the root is the note that they give you, the pitch. Whatever pitch is in that chord change, that's the root. That's it. We're not dealing with slash chords or anything, so we don't have to worry about anything like that. So, okay, it's B flat 7. So the root is B flat. So there you go. Play that note. Well, now we take that rhythm worksheet and we find one of those whichever rhythm we want, and we go through that blues. We go through that basic blues just on the root. So I pulled I do something. One thing I do different. I think that when I was listening to I was warming up and kind of listening to Marcus. He has B flat 7. Like he had B flat 7 or the one chord for the first 4 measures, which is fine, and that's how a lot of people do it. I put the 4 chord in the second measure and then go back to the 1 for the third and fourth measure. So you'll hear that different. Ultimately, do whichever one. So I just have people start. So I'll do like the Charleston rhythm start. So like a dotted quarter note and an eighth note. And like I said, this isn't really like, it's a start to improvisation. It's probably nothing that I would do if I was playing a gig, but I do this on tunes that I need to learn. And I'll show you why here in a second. So here, I'm just going to play the roots on Charleston rhythm. Then I put the 5 chord at the end there just so it has a place to resolve back to the tonic at the top of the form. I have kids do that. So what you're doing when you just play through the roots, even at this level where it's just you're playing the same rhythm, you're playing the root of every chord on the same rhythm, every single measure. What you're doing is you're training your ear to hear the root movement. So you're hearing where the bass is going. Now, ultimately, the goal is, one, that's going to teach you the form, and the form is super important. We all know that. So we're learning the form. And then number 2, it's going to teach you how to be a proactive improviser rather than a reactive improviser. So proactive versus reactive. What I mean by that, if you're a proactive improviser, you anticipate what's getting ready to happen. And right now we're just talking harmonically. So if I know I'm getting ready to go to the 4 chord in measure 5, I can start to prepare myself and start to play things that are going to help lead the listener to that 4 chord before the 4 chord actually ever gets played. So I can start to imply other harmony. I can imply a 2-5-1 before that E flat chord. I can do all kinds of things like that. If I'm a reactive player, I'm waiting for the rhythm section to play that 4 chord before I start playing anything, before I imply anything in the 4 chord. Now the problem with at this tempo, it's okay. The problem with that is if you're playing something fast, if you're playing a bebop tune, or you're playing, you've got something with a lot of harmonic rhythm, like if there's chord changes every two beats, if you're a reactive player and you're waiting for the chord to happen, by the time you process, chord has happened, think of something to play it, the chord is already gone. So learning how to become a proactive player is something very important to me. So, pardon me. So that's just playing the roots. That's kind of what I have kids start out with. So once they're comfortable with playing the same rhythm every measure, we can kind of break it into if I listen to people do that, I can kind of gauge where they're at immediately, how they're gonna do this. So then we can go into a couple different things. We can work on phrasing just by playing roots. So we can play the same lick or same rhythm every measure throughout the whole entire thing, or we could take three different rhythms and we could either play them, we could assign a rhythm for each chord. So B flat 7 is going to have one rhythm, E flat 7 is going to have a rhythm, F 7 is going to have a rhythm. So then they're changing their rhythm for each chord. So now they're also associating in drums. You can do any drummers in here, you can do this too, just by focusing on what you're playing. Hi-hat, I'm playing a rhythm on a hi-hat for the one chord, I'm playing floor tom for the four chord, and I'm playing something on the snare for the five chord, things like that. So you can do that for every chord, or you can have them phrase and have the same rhythm for the first four measures, different rhythm for the second four measures, third rhythm for the third four, for the final four measures. So now we're working on those 3-4 bar phrases within a 12-bar blues. And then finally, if you're comfortable with that, then we're changing our rhythm every single measure. So we're using 12 different rhythms for a 12-bar blues, but still just staying on the root. And that's just reinforcing the root movement. It's helping you internalize the root movement so you can sing along. Like I think if you can sing something, you should be able to play it. That's what you want to get to, is like you can sing it or hear something in your head and you can transfer that to your instrument. Some of the best people that I know, a lot of the people that you're going to hear this week do that. So if you don't believe me, listen to them. So you guys got your instrument. Like I only see a few people, like people got their names and stuff. If you have your instruments, especially since everyone is on mute, you don't have to you don't have to prove to me that you're there or anything, but like something we can do here is we can just try that. So take a second, look at that rhythmic worksheet that I sent. Find an easy rhythm, or whichever rhythm you want. Like I said, there's 152 of them on here. There's 7 pages worth of rhythms. So let's just go through this on the roots. See, can I share yet? Yes, I can. All right, sweet. Where is? Let me see. Does that work? All right, so let me move that over so that everybody can see that. There's your chords. There's the chords for a simple blues in B flat. So I'm going to start this. Since you guys are all on mute, it's not going to matter. You guys are just going to play this on yourself by yourself, and I can't hear you. But to get some participation, here we go. So find a rhythm, and I want you to play that. I want you to play that same rhythm for all 12 bars. Okay, and then the second time we play through that, I want you to be like I'm going to assume that you guys are, since you guys are here, you're able to do this, and maybe I shouldn't, but I won't ever know because you're on mute. So first chorus, we're going to play through the rhythm. Second chorus, I'm going to let it go a second chorus, and I want you to sing that rhythm, okay? So now we're going to play the roots, and then we're going to sing the roots. If we can sing the roots, we're going to internalize the root, and we can hear this root movement without anything. So here we go. Pick your own rhythm. 1, 2, 3. All right, now let's sing it. Cool. All right, so there's that. Easy exercise. So you're learning the root movement. Now we want to actually start to incorporate. So what my book, the title of this class is Timing is Everything. And it's the same as my book. Um, but what I kind of do now is I just instead of just introducing scales, ultimately something that I found with younger musicians is maybe you are not comfortable with all your major scales yet. And hopefully you are. If not, you should be. And you should be working towards that. I still practice my major scales every day. That's part of my warm up routine. Is every day I play my all 12 major scales, the full range of my instrument. Um, so one of the things is with the scale, like if I tell you, okay, you can play a Mixolydian scale over this chord. A lot of times, what I hear is people they just play the scale, and so don't forget that you're improvising a melody. Okay, even though we're focusing on rhythm, you're improvising a melody. So a scale playing the scale from root to root will work, and it'll sound nice, but is it melodic to you? So what I do is I just go through and introduce scale degrees one by one. So we just learned the root. Now we're going to learn the seventh, because that's the other obvious part of a chord change that we see. So let me pull this back up real quick. Where did Zoom go? Too many things. And I'm getting old. All right. So right here, like if you see these chord changes, obviously B flat 7. B flat is the root. That's the pitch that they give you. That's the root. Whenever you see the pitch and just a 7 next to it, there's no other symbols, nothing else next to it. That's our dominant chord. So a 7, like Marcus said, it's a lowered 7th, so you can find the 7th of your major scale and lower it 1/2 step. Okay. Or you could just take another way to do it is you just take the pitch that you're given, the B flat, and go down a whole step. So B flat down a whole step is A flat. E flat down a whole step is D flat. F down a whole step is E flat. Well, there's your 7th. So a 7 by itself, dominant 7 chord, you can play the root, and then you can play a whole step below the root. So like in my book, I don't even talk about scales. I just talk about it's like the note's relationship to the root. So I talk in whole steps and half steps a lot. So the next thing I have kids do, and you guys can do this too when I play this again, is I just want you to play the 7th through this. Use the same rhythm you just used for the roots, but play the 7th. So I'll do it once, and then the second chorus you guys do it, okay? So just 2 choruses. First chorus, listen to me. Here we go. Now you. Cool. All right. So here's the big thing whenever we do that. Number one, you just taught yourself the root movement to an A flat blues as well. So surprise. How did that sound different than when you played the roots? And let's actually have somebody tell me, like in the chat room, like how did that sound compared to playing roots over a blues? And use a word besides different, because it does sound different. Anybody? How is playing 7th? How did playing a 7th over that chord sound different than playing a root? More dissonant. Yeah, man. Yeah, Sam. More dissonant. Yeah. So this is not my idea. I got this idea from I took some lessons with Elliot Mason, who I think he got it from like George Garzone or Jerry Bergonzi, I can't ever remember which one. So yeah, it gave more color and sound to the changes. Absolutely. So here's what I have everyone do. And this is where even like just pretending like that's the third chorus of blues you've ever taken in your life, like where the first chorus was playing a root and then singing a root. Now you've played sevenths. You can start to individualize your sound this early. And we talk a lot about, we want to create our own sound and our own thing. Well, here's how you start. I want think about the root. Pardon me. Think about the root against a dominant seven chord. How does associate a color or sound or mood or any sort of noun? What just a one word, associate one word and to how a root sounds against a dominant chord. A lot of people use colors, moods, whatever, but you can use whatever. And then I want you to think about how a seventh sounds against a dominant seven chord and use another word to describe it. Okay. Pardon me again. My coffee's cold now. All right. So if you've got two different words, I guarantee there's probably some of the same word for a few of these, but maybe not everyone, we might have hit the lottery here and have two people have the same two words for the two different things. But if you start to associate that, you're already starting to build your preference on what you like to play over a dominant chord. And like I said, we've just got two notes and there's 18 of you right now. So, there's probably 14 of you that like playing sevenths over a dominant chord and 4 of you like a root over a dominant chord, something like that. Okay. So now we can do the same process with sevenths just to kind of reinforce that sound, and we're reinforcing that time as well. The ultimate goal, it's easy to get lost and forget about what we're doing here. Is all of this is just reinforcing your internal sense of time and rhythm when you're playing. So do the same thing now where you play 3 different rhythms over the different chords or over the different phrases, or 12 different rhythms, a different rhythm every measure, just over the seventh. Okay. So now you're reinforcing that sound and you're internalizing what a seventh sounds in there. If you can hear it, you can play it. So after that, then you can start to combine them. So I'm just going to go 8 quarter note and then 2 8th notes. And I'm going to go root, seventh, root. So that's what this sounds like. Again, probably nothing that I would play live on stage, but as an exercise, it's pretty good. So now I've got same rhythm and then the same melodic contour. So 1-7-1 on everything. Now I could do that same thing and use the same rhythm again, but I could change the contour every time. And I think there between 2 notes within an octave, I think there's 6 different combinations. So that's not too bad. And I'm going to skip that one right now, but it's something that you can do in that other link that I sent you, the using the rhythmic approach. I'm pretty sure the second page after the silly cover, it gives you sort of the process of how you can do this, finding sevenths and then just go slowly adding things. So now I'm going to play through a blues just using roots and sevenths, but I'm going to change the rhythm and change the contour every time. Okay. And you can see even already you can start to actually hear a solo. It doesn't sound as warm-uppy or etudial. Okay. All right, so I mean, yeah, like it's still maybe maybe that's like the beginning of like if I know I'm going to take like 7 choruses over a blues, that's and I'm really thinking about pacing a solo out. That's something that I would actually play. Like I would start with something like that. Maybe not the entire chorus, but you can kind of see where we're going from this. So next thing I do, so we've started doing these sort of 2 pitch motives. Now I add the ninth or the second. If you see a 9 in a chord, that implies that that dominant 7 is there. And if it's just like B flat 9, then you know that we've got B flat, the A flat is implied, and then the 9 is the second. So you just think a whole step above the root. Okay. So do the same thing now. Let's hear you guys all do this. So over a concert B flat, the 9 is a C. Over concert E flat, the 9 is an F. Over concert F, the 9 is a G. So now I want you guys to go through this and play just the ninths. Use whatever rhythms you want, but I want you to play the ninths over this. Okay, and think about, and we're doing that word association thing too. Okay, here we go. Ninths. All right. So again, in the chat, what did that sound like? How did that compare to the root? And how did it compare to the 7th? Or just write down in the chat, write down the word, mood, or color that you use to associate with the ninth. What did you think of? What's the first one word thing that you thought of when you played the ninth? Unsettled, okay. What else? Weird. All right. Yeah, I mean, unsettled and weird. Those are decent. So the ninth, it's not a chord tone, and it's right. It sits right in between 2 chord tones. So there's going to be some dissonance there, but it's not like crunchy dissonance, right? Can we agree? Like, it doesn't. I don't think it sounds as dissonant as a 7th does. Like a 7th has just like it's a chord tone, but it's still got a little crunch to it. A ninth to me sounds very open. Okay. And congrats, you just taught yourself the root movement to a C blues now too. So now you know the root movement to blues in 3 keys. So yeah, so now you should have 3 different words or moods, okay? And you can start to play with that. So you do the same thing, exact same process. And then you play you can play with a root in a second. Well, then now we can start doing 3 pitch motives and do 719 or 712. It doesn't matter if you want to call it a 2 or a 9 right now. I'm not like there's a chapter in the book where I start talking about minor thirds, and really I'm talking about sharp 9s, but I just call them a minor third just because I'm not worried about the actual like theoretical concept behind it. I just want you to hear how it, I want you to focus on how it sounds. So, all right. So now I'll do the same. I'll do a couple courses here. I'll do the same contour, melodic contour. So I'm going to go 7, 7, 1, 2, 1. Okay. And I can already hear in my head how this is going to sound through this entire thing. I'll do that same thing for all throughout the first chorus, and then I'll break off and do different contour, different rhythms. So okay, so I started to deviate at the end of that third chorus there, but you can already hear like three notes. Pick three notes and focus on those three notes. And if you play with good time, a good rhythm, it's going to be a solid start. Now, ultimately, like I said earlier, if you're wanting to start to build solos and actually kind of pace this, then you want to, this is a good starting point, and then you can basically use everything else you're going to learn in this whole week with what all the other people are going to teach you about improvisation. Like I'm teaching you how to play a first chorus of a long solo, and everyone else is going to teach you how to play all of the really cool crunchy stuff that resolves nicely with everything. So all right, so then all I do with after that, like all the book does, like I said, it goes through so we learned roots, we learned sevenths, we learned seconds, and then we talk about thirds. We talk about the difference between major and minor third. It's really major third and sharp nine, and we talk about fifths and sixths. And then we get into four note motives. And here's the crazy thing with a four note. So a four note motive, we're just taking four pitches out of a chord, out of a scale that we're supposed to use. So if we're just using Mixolydian here, like we could use Matt Otto would do this with me one time. I took a lesson from Matt, and here's this kind of blew my mind actually. He's like, okay, I want you to play a major triad for each one of the we were just working on a blues. He's like, just play a major triad, and then I want you to pick one other note that you can play. So you got four notes. Does anyone know? Let's see if anyone can do this math real quick. If you've got four notes within one octave, so we're not skipping any octaves or anything. How many different melodic combinations are there of those four notes, permutations? How many can you play within one octave? Anybody? Math is hard sometimes. This is hard too. You kind of have to count it all out. I had to count it out. I didn't know the right math equation to do. We're building out a major triad plus one note. So there's just any four pitches. Like you've got four pitches that you're using, like 1, 2, 3, 5. How many different patterns of 1, 2, 3, 5 are there within an octave? I'll 10 now. 24. So you can go like so it's like 1, 2, 3, 5, 1, 2, 5, 3, then 1, 3, 2, 5, 1, 3, 5, 2, 1, 5, 2, 3, 1, 5, 3, 2. So that's all of them that start on 1, right? So then you take those 6 and then you start with the next pitch. So there are 4 pitches, so 6 times 4 is 24. Okay. Now, how many pitches are there within an octave? There are 12, right? So we've already got like 1, 3, 5. That's our solid one. That's our triad that we're doing. So you could take 12 minus those 3. You've got 9 different combinations. So 9 times 24. What's 9 times 24? I can't do that math. 216, something like that. Yeah, 216. So within one octave, and this is just within one octave. So if I'm playing like, I'm not going down below that octave. I'm just staying within one octave. There are 216 different 4-note combinations that you can do. So that's a lot to do with just like, if you're just thinking of 4 notes, that's still plenty. So, and I kind of go over that in the book when we talk about 4-pitch motives. So when you're going over a blues, if you just pick if you just pick 4 scale degrees, and I try and put like, I would always have the third or seventh. Why do we have the third or the seventh in why would I always want the third and seventh? Third or seventh and or I guess. What are the third and seventh in a chord? What do we call those? Guide tones. Yeah, very good. Yeah, so it's important to have the guide tones because that actually establishes the harmony. If you're just playing these sort of like, if you're just playing 9 and 6 and 5 and 2, wait, no, two is 9. So 9, 6, 5, 1. You're never like, it's going to sound cool, but you're never, it's kind of like the blues scale. Like the blues scale, you're going to sound good using it, but you're never really addressing the harmony with the blues scale. So if you can kind of play around, and so what you do when you're starting to associate all these scale degrees with these chords, now you can start to associate. Okay, if I said 3 sounds happy and 9 sounds blue, what happens when I mix those two together? If I start playing 3 and 2 over this, let's see what happens. I'm just going to play ninths and seconds over this. 2 notes. Get it, the idea, like you start to mix those. Well, now what do 3 and 2 sound like together? So you really can kind of go off the rails, especially when you get to 4 pitches and you're sort of just like you're a chemist at that point. You're just like, okay, what does this color and mood, what do these colors and moods sound like together? And you could really start to personalize your sound. Again, all sort of um, while just if you're focusing on less notes, you're really just thinking about that sound, your sound, and the time. Okay, so like I very rarely go beyond my means as a my own personal means as a trombonist anymore. Like when I was your age, I was just like a dog trying to chase cars. Like I was just like, oh, I can do this really fast, and it sounded terrible, but I was really cool in high school. So um, just work on like staying settled and playing within yourself. And I do, I still have to check myself a lot, but if you do that, you're gonna like I said, you're really focusing on sound and good time and melody, and then all that other stuff can happen later. The more you listen, the more you internalize, and your ear improves and your understanding of your instrument improves. So um and like I said, you can kind of take um this method um, and really apply it to any tune. So in like the book, after I'm done with all that, like I go over like there are 81 different courses of the simple blues in there. And then after that, I go into like 10 other forms. It's like I go into a jazz blues, a bird blues, a minor blues, and then we do some standards like All the Things You Are, Take the A Train, Autumn Leaves, Giant Steps, um, things like that. Just so you can kind of see that process, like, okay, like Giant Steps is a really hard song. So first thing you should do is learn the root movement. Now the root movement is incredibly hard on that because of the 3 key centers in it. But if you just get a start on it by like you don't know where to start when you start to learn how to play something like Giant Steps, or even if it's Autumn Leaves, and you want to like it's full of 2-5-1s. Well, if I want to start to internalize what a 2-5-1 sounds like, I'm going to just play the roots of those 2-5-1s so I can hear it. So that's a great place. It's a great place to start. So what I did actually is if anyone is actually interested, um, this is my silly little plug, and there's no pressure here. But if you guys do go to this right there, and then whatever you buy there, just use the promo code Future Jazz. It's very inventive. Um, you get 50% off everything. That includes the book is like I've got digital versions and physical copies, and they're in like B flat, E flat, bass clef, and treble clef. So there's 4 different versions. So unless you're like a French horn player, you should be good on that, or a violist. Um, but you get 50% off anything there for the rest of the week. So do you guys have questions over this or anything? We've got about 5 minutes.
Yeah, guys, don't be shy. This is your time.
Yeah. Yeah, this is this is the only one I'm doing this week. I mean, you can always email me, but this is the time.
So I noticed, Ryan, you were talking about I think the pattern was the 7th, the root, and the 9.
Yeah.
A great slide Hampton solo that I've been working on. It's over a blues, and he
Yeah.
really develops that whole thing. Uh,
Yeah.
so, do you mind if I play just like the first couple chords?
Oh, go for it, man.
So, guys, what Ryan was talking about just using, the 7th, the root, and the 9. Check out this slide Hampton solo that's like really, really great, and he just develops that whole idea. Uh,
And if you don't know who Slide Hampton is, he's on he'd be like on the Mount Rushmore of jazz trombonists.
yeah.
Like it's legit.
Oh, where'd it go? There we go. Yeah, so like that, ba ba da da. He took that from the melody, and that's that same 7 root 9. You know,
Yeah.
he just developed it, really nicely.
Yeah, that's another thing. Like, I encourage you guys all to don't just do this in B flat. Like, start if that's another easy way to start learning thing. Like, just take a simple blues. If you want to start learning how to play in all 12 keys a little bit easier, just take a simple blues and do these simple licks over. I mean, you with just a little bit of time, even if you write them out to yourself, there's nothing wrong with that. Your muscles are gonna develop, like your muscle memory is gonna develop, and you can like 7191, move it up, and you heard him do that. Like he took that out. He was playing out, but just using that, but it sounded good because it was with good time, and he developed the correct context to play that idea outside of the chord changes. So, I mean, it's something that you guys can do right now, where you just take it and put it in all 12 keys and work on it. And I bet you get it within the day that you start to work on it. Like, just, it's nothing, that's not a difficult lick at all. So just take simple ideas like that and start working with them in all 12 keys, and you'll find that your ear is going to take off. So you guys got other questions? Anything? How did you get 216 combinations? So if you look up at that number, the one that I did with like the 1 2 3 5 1 2 5 3. So those are our 4 notes that we were talking about: 1 2 3 1 2 3 and 5. So if you look, there are 6 combinations. If you're just starting on the root on 1, there are 6 different combinations you can play. So theoretically, if you start on the 2, there's 6 more combinations. If you start on the 3, there's 6 more combinations. If you start on 5, there's 6 combinations. So 6 times 4 is 24. And then 1, 3, and 5 those are our constant tones. Those are in every one that we're doing, because we were just using the major triad. So now we'll do 1, 2, 3, 4. We'll do 1, 2, 3, 6. We'll do 1, 2, 3, 7. We'll do 1, 2, 3, flat 9. You can add the other 9 pitches within an octave. So 9 times 24 is 216.
Sweet.
And you'll find some of them you'll absolutely hate. You'll go, oh, this sounds like garbage. But there are some really cool ones in there. And again, man, just take those 4 notes, learn them in all 12, learn those 4 scale degrees, like learn the patterns of those 4 scale degrees in all 12 keys. You'll have a lot of language and a lot of stuff to draw from.
Very cool. Thank you,
Yeah, guys.
Dr. Heinlein.
Yeah.
So if you guys check out that link to his store if you want to know more about the concept. So guys, we're gonna have to check your emails. We're about to go to lunch. So check your emails.